The combine does several things at once. It cuts the stalk, separates the head and the thrashers, separating the grain from the chaff. The grain is unloaded at intervals by a trailer driving alongside, which will take its loads to the grain store for drying and storage. The straw is thrown out of the back of the combine and lays in swathes along its track. This is then gathered by a baling machine, which will either bale or roll the straw, which will later be used in the year for winter bedding for cattle or pigs, as well as being used as a feed. In eastern areas where there are less livestock or more arable areas, there is an excess of straw. If it is not required by the farmer, he may choose to simply chop it into a mulch as it leaves the combine and spread it on the field ready to be ploughed in to increase the soil's organic content. The surface that is left is smooth and firm and is perfect for landing. Although the cut field is of a similar colour to uncut fields, the difference should be obvious enough to tell them apart, even at a distance. The real clue is in the texture. Gone are the regular tram lines and the even consistency of the surface. The field looks somehow scruffy and untidy. Look at the random tracks formed by the tractors and trailers as they take the shortest distance between the working combine and the gate. So, although in certain light and at a certain angle a field that has been harvested can look similar to a field of standing corn, we can guarantee that if we see random tracks across the field, it has been harvested. Here we are looking at a crop field and, assuming any bales have been gathered and other factors are favourable, it is ideal for landing. Here we can see a stubble field. The bottom half of the field has straw lines. The top half has bales, and we see the baling machine working the straw lines. The random track across the ridges tells us what they are. Obviously, it would be unwise to attempt a landing between the bales. We could, if we had to, however, land in the straw lines, if we were careful. Landing across them is not a good idea. They can be very deep, and lines like this, for instance, would certainly tear your undercarriage doors off, at the very least. But if we land along the lines, between the ridges, so long as we keep the wings level, we should be okay. Dipping the wing into a line of straw, however, could ground loop the glider. In fact, whenever we are landing in a stubble field, we should always try to land along the lines of cut if at all possible. This is the direction the field has been worked. It has been ploughed and tilled and sown and fertilised in the same direction, and all the ruts and tractor tracks will be parallel. If we try and land across the direction of cut, we should expect a very rough and bumpy arrival, maybe enough to damage our glider. Usually, very soon after the crop is gathered and the straw has been picked up, the land will be cultivated. A disc cultivator cuts up the surface and incorporates the stubble. It leaves a soft surface which is still okay for landing providing it hasn't rained. Alternatively, a plough is used, sometimes with a press, to consolidate the ground. Either way, this usually breaks up too much of the previous crop's root structure, and the surface becomes too rough and soft for a successful landing. So, we have been through the whole of the sowing season, from spring through to autumn, and we've looked at the way things change as the farming year progresses. Successful field landings is a prerequisite of cross-country gliding. Knowing what is available and when is a great help, as is a working knowledge of the farming countryside. If you spare a thought to the condition of the fields every time you fly and get used to looking at them and assessing them, your ability and confidence in choosing suitable fields will grow, and the prospect of landing out will no longer hold any fear or trepidation. There have been many articles written and published in sailplane and gliding about the subject, and it would be a good idea to review these when you can. There are also some important considerations about codes of conduct and the legal aspect of landing uninvited on somebody else's property available on the British Gliding website. It's important you know your rights as well as understand the landowner's point of view. Safe flying and happy landings.